Today we're going to look at Rebel Rebel by David Bowie. Stick around, it's an awesome riff. Hello everyone, it's James from Practice Like a Pro, providing you with simple clear guitar tips to help you on your guitar playing journey. So we're going to break down the awesome Rebel Rebel by David Bowie today. There's 3 parts to the song, let's get to it. Let's start with this beginning riff. So please note the riff starts with an open D string. When I play this in bands, I actually play a D5 chord, which is like your D major chord, but you take your pinky off the top and just strum the D, the G and the B. It just gives it a bit of a grander sound. So if you want a little bit more meat behind what you're playing, substitute that open D string for this, but let's stay as sort of close to the record as we can. We're going to start with an open D string with a downstroke. Following that, we're going to play with an upstroke the high E string, just open. Now, it's really important with this riff that you keep everything, all the notes need to kind of bleed into each other, and we've got quite a coarse sound on his guitar because the record does, but you want the notes to kind of bleed into one another, so try and hang on to some of those notes for as long as you can. So we've got open D, open high E with an upstroke, and then with my third finger I'm going to play the 3rd fret on the B string, and then with my 2nd finger I'm going to play the 2nd fret on the B as well. And that's the 3s with a down and the 2s with an up. So the next part uses an E major chord, so I'll put that on screen for you, it's also on the tab underneath. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 upstrokes, 2 very brisk upstrokes, but I'm going to rest in between them. So instead of going, I'm going to, in between each stroke, I'm going to use this part of my hand to just touch the strings to stop them from vibrating. Now notice I've got a lot of reverb on my amp because the record does, and you want to get those tails of reverb by cutting the note short. So far we've got following that, I'm going to play the low E string open, but I'm going to palm mute it as well. You hear how I'm using this part of my palm on the edge of the bridge. Instead of getting, we're getting. It just adds that sort of more percussive element to it. If you look at the tab now, you've got a couple of pull-offs to do. What I like to do is I like to keep that E major shape and do the pull-off with my pinky. So I'm pressing the 2nd fret with my pinky, bearing in mind I'm still keeping this E major shape. 2nd fret on the B, and I'm just going to pull off with my pinky. And then you've got 1st fret on the G and 2nd fret on the D, and I'm just carrying on because my fingers are already in the right shape with that E chord. So you put the whole riff together. Moving on to the second part, you could call this maybe the pre-chorus before it goes in Rebel, Rebel, you da-da-da. We're going to start with an A major chord and we're going to let that ring out for 4 beats. Then we're going to go to a D major chord and you're going to do like a little sort of flick. Da-da-da. So that's down, up, down. So we've got A, 2, 3, 4. Da-da-da. And we've got 2 more Ds there. Then we're going to move to B minor. Now you can either do this as the bar chord or how I've tabbed it out, which is the little sort of 4-finger way of doing it without the bar. You're going to do the flick again, followed by 1 downstroke. Following on from that, we move to the E major string and you're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now it sounds really rough around the edges, does that section, but that's the whole point of the song. It is meant to be rough. It's a really gnarly, nasty guitar tone for a reason. Apparently it was to get under Mick Jagger's skin, as it is a kind of Rolling Stonesy kind of riff. The last part of the song, which I consider the chorus, it uses the riff from the intro and the verse, but then the ending's a little bit different before it all comes back around. So you're going to play the riff 4 times, and to finish, you're going to play a D chord for 4 beats, then you're going to play an E chord for 3 beats, and then there's a string bend on the 3rd fret of the low E string, and you're going to bend that enough so it sounds like the note next door. So you're turning a G into a G sharp. Now you don't want to bend it too far. You see how I'm sort of moving the neck of my guitar and bending it that much. You're supposed to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is kind of pushed ever so slightly, but you'll feel it. If I put the last riff in context, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it starts all over again. I did a little bit of research before I made this video to see who played the original riff and what gear that they were using to sort of advise you guys. Nobody seems to know. The liner notes in the records have changed over time, and nobody's really sure who's played on it. I've kind of gone for a Marshall, obviously Les Paul into a Marshall, absolute winner, with plenty of reverb, and I'm using the treble pickup. Now, if you're using a Strat, I'd still use the back pickup. Plenty of reverb and quite a lot of treble. It's not a nice guitar tone, but it's supposed to sound like a cranked amp with plenty of reverb, because you think about the choppy E chords in the riff. You want that tail coming off it. So whatever you've got, just try and get a bit of a nasally sound. Some people even suggested that they used a wah-wah and they cocked the wah-wah halfway to give it that sort of nasally bite. Who knows? With those 3 riffs that we learnt today, I'd recommend getting an A4 piece of paper, writing out the 3 parts, and then counting along with the song and build yourself a structure. Now, I could provide that and I could give you a PDF, but to be honest, it's great practice for you to actually map it out for yourself rather than just being told what to do. It's developing your oral skills as well. So get a piece of paper and sort of go, right, we're going to do the verse, let's say, I'm paraphrasing it best, but let's say do the verse 8 times, and then we're going to go to the bridge, which is the second part that we looked at. We're going to play that once. We're going to go back to the riff 4 times, and then it does the... Do your best to piece it together and see what you come up with, but it's pretty much the same thing, round and round and round, and to be honest, by the time that you've got it up to speed and you've played it a couple of times with the record, you'll have the structure in there anyway. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you did, please let us know in the comments what other songs you'd like me to cover. Above me, we've got the Practice Like a Pro icon. If you like us content, please do consider subscribing, and if you'd like to learn something else, check out one of his other videos. Until I see you next time, thank you very much. Keep practicing like a pro. Cheers.